From Democrat to Republican, The Shift in Southern Voting by Tristan Souness-Wilson. In modern-day politics, we associate the Republican Party as dominating the South. We think of Mitt Romney, John McCain, and George W. Bush as all winning handedly in the South. But it wasn't always like this. In fact, this is a very recent occurrence if we look at Southern voting patterns as a whole. The South used to be solidly Democratic, in stark contrast of the solid Republican South we see today. From about 1880 to 1964, the Democratic Party enjoyed winning the South handedly. But why was the South Democratic? To answer this question, we need to re-examine what transpired after the Civil War. After the Civil War, the South possessed hostility towards the North. The South was upset with the outcome of the Civil War and opposed the North in many areas and virtually all that involved politics. The North supported rights for African Americans and also supported the gold standard. The South vehemently opposed rights for African Americans and wanted to maintain white supremacy, so it didn't come as a surprise that they would want to support whoever went against the Northern Republican Party. The South counter for the Republican North was the Solid South. The Solid South was comprised of 11 states that made up the old Confederacy: South Carolina, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina, and also included additional members: West Virginia, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Kentucky. The South was solidly Democratic in every presidential election from 1876 to 1948, excluding the election of 1928. The Democratic Party would enjoy guaranteed success in the South for 70 years, until the Democratic Convention of 1948. The 1948 Democratic Convention was the key factor in beginning the shift in the South from Democratic to Republican. At the convention, the Democratic Party decided to add civil rights as a plank to their list of goals. Hubert Humphrey gave a speech in favor of civil rights. This move was met with strong Southern opposition, led by Strom Thurmond, who was the governor of South Carolina. Thurmond led an exodus of Southern states and created the States' Rights Democratic Party, otherwise known as the Dixiecrats. This was seen as the beginning of the erosion of the Solid South. In 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act. This was seen as a monumental move in American history, but one that would change Southern politics forever. Immediately after signing the act into effect, Johnson turned and told his aide, "I think we just delivered the South to the Republican Party for a long time to come." That same year, he ran for president against the challenger Barry Goldwater, the Republican from Arizona. Goldwater managed to carry Southern states in the Deep South for the first time since Reconstruction. Goldwater even managed to claim 70% of Alabama, the first time any Republican presidential candidate had done so, as Gerald R. Webster pointed out in his paper, The Demise of the Solid South. Although he lost the election, this was just a glimpse into the future of the South politically. The 1968 election saw Richard Nixon employing a scheme called the Southern Strategy. This strategy targeted white Southerners who were more conservative than the Democratic Party and invited them to join the Republican Party. It also played on the inherent racism of white Southerners. It was a huge success, and Nixon managed to defer every state in the Solid South from the Democratic Party, who all voted for American Independent Party candidate George Wallace, besides Texas, which voted for Hubert Humphrey, the Democrat. This tactic paid off and has signaled the end of the Solid South. From 1968 to 1980, the South was split. In the elections between these years, no one party won every state like the Democratic Party had previously enjoyed. Not until the election of 1980 did one party wholly claim the South. In 1980, Ronald Reagan successfully captured the entire South, excluding Georgia, and created a new voting pattern in the South that we still see today, one where Republicans are almost always guaranteed victory in Southern states. Reagan campaigned on giving states' rights back to the states and targeted family values and religion, all things that the South felt strongly about. These tactics are still employed today and used regularly by the Republican Party to maintain support in the South. This signified the extinction of the Old South. In roughly 100 years, the South went from solidly Democratic to voting solely for Republicans. The change wasn't that surprising, for many of the old Democrats were staunch conservatives when it came to moral issues and religious issues. The Republican Party gave them a path to depart from their pro-civil rights former party and maintain their conservative beliefs. In doing so, the Solid South transformed into a new Solid South,